All right, gentlemen. Again, it's a real joy to walk with you through this recovery journey, and I am. I even got Chris praying for me this morning because I don't have a real easy talk to deliver today, because I'm going to talk about what this addiction uh, does to your wife, and what's the damage that you've caused her, and 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 even the two or three single guys, you got to recognize that you are already choosing to live pure as a gift to your future wife. And most of the guys that are married here will really have wished that they would have sorted this out before they got married. So you're in a better place in some ways. So don't give me, well, I'm not married, this doesn't apply. I'll punch you in the nose on that one. It's really understanding the pain that we cause our spouse, because of our addiction, porn, sexual addiction, whatever. And so yeah, I want to walk through this with you, and keep in mind that my heart here is to help you look at it from their perspective, and give you the beginning steps of empathy. Because if you can't empathize with the pain that you've caused your spouse, what you've put her through, yeah, it's going to be complicated. And so one of the questions that I would like us to begin the discussion with when I'm done the talk is where I think I hurt my wife the most. Where I think I hurt my wife the most. And then I want you to share that just for the other guys to hear. So be thinking about that as we go through this talk. If you pull up the document called Partner Losses and have a quick look at that, I have the designation of partner recovery therapist, which means I've taken the training to help wives, partners of sexual addicts, through that. And so I created this document here of the different losses that a wife goes through. Okay, and you notice that there's a chance to score how much pain she's in because of that. And if you haven't been through counseling with me, you maybe haven't seen this yet. And because I see so many people and I kind of approach it a little more specialized as to who's coming in, I don't always do this with every couple. But it's designed for the wife to fill out all the different hurts that she's carried, the losses that she's experienced, thus partner losses. And then it's the sexual addict's job, the husband's job, to empathize where he thinks she would be on this continuum of 1 to 4. How much this cost her, how much this hurt her. And so then you compare how much you've got it. Now, guys often, to protect themselves, they put everyone 4 and 5 so that they think, oh, it's affecting you more maybe than it is. But it doesn't show empathy, because she might score a 1 or a 2 on some of these and you've put a 4 and a 5. It doesn't show that you understand. And so the idea would be the more you understand her, the more your number and her number will be close. And then 6 months later, you notice it says date 2. There's a chance to, look at her pain at that point, 6 months later or so, and you put the second date in and you do the same journey, And so we're just going to read through these 20 so that you can just imagine your spouse's pain. And then I'm going to talk about it in general terms with the other document that I created for this group this morning. So loss of life as she once knew it. Everything seems upside down because she finds out about the addiction. Loss of your faithfulness to her in the marriage. She thought you were faithful, you're not. Loss of emotional safety, broken vows, shattered relationship. Loss of trust through your constant lies, your secrets, your betrayal. Loss of trust is huge. Loss of beauty and sanctity of marriage as God intended. Marriage now is hell. Instead of, this is beautiful, we're getting married, this is so awesome, right? Loss of sexual freedom. Her going into the bedroom without trauma, memories, comparison. That's really complicated. Loss of sacredness, of being sexually unique to each other. When there's self-centered sex, porn, masturbation, orgasm, when there's sex outside the marriage, We got some real issues that we got to face, and it just really hurts her. Number 8, loss of respect for you, as a man, is transferred to all guys. I guess all guys are slimes, right? And then she looks at every man and wonders, is he doing it too? I bet he's lying to his wife, and it really creates a growing disrespect. Loss of self-respect through her own shame and humiliation because of your problem. How does she talk to others about it? Where does she go? A loss of innocence and naivety over the addict's dark sexual world. When she finds out what you've done, what you've been looking at, how often you've been doing it, and she might even caught you looking at porn and masturbating one night late or whatever. It's just loss of innocence and just something she shouldn't have to carry. Loss of financial security. People might lose their jobs, certainly wasted money, other debts that have arisen. Loss of a secret-free life, because now she has to carry all these things that she knows about her husband, basically privately. So she has all these things she's got to now carry that aren't hers. Loss of hope and the dream of a marriage as she'd once hoped it would be. This is just the opposite of what she was hoping for. Loss of extended family respect as they hear about your addiction. Whether it's her parents, her siblings, other friends. She just really struggles with the fact that everybody's got to know this. This is my life now. Thanks a lot. Loss of daily freedom as multiple triggers of his acting out rob her. Just to give you an example, triggers is a whole other discussion, which I want to go on, and understanding your own triggers and understanding your spouse's triggers. But one couple I worked with, he had cheated on his wife with a coworker, and this coworker, her husband had slept with this coworker in her truck, and she knew the color and make of that truck. And every time she saw this green Ford F-10 type truck, she was triggered, and she just went downhill instantly by just seeing any vehicle that looked like that. So the triggers are robbing her. Loss of worth with self-blame. She's not good enough, not pretty enough, not sexy enough, just loss of worth. Loss of a pain-free life, because now she's filled with stress, anxiety, worry, doubt, anger, certainly disunity. It's a major issue. In some cases, loss of dignity through having to go get tested for sexually transmitted diseases, and it's just so humiliating. Number 19, loss of family innocence and fear that the need to protect the kids. There's many wives who go, well, if he's doing that and lying to me, how do I know he's not going to touch our kids? How do I know that? And so, you call it, well, that's crazy. I would never do that. Well, she thought you'd never do what you've done. And certainly number 20 is a big factor. Her own loss of faith in God. Why did he allow this? What have I done wrong? Is he punishing me? And you can see the multiple losses that your spouse has because of this. And for those guys that are single, you don't want to put your wife through this. And the guys that are there, you want to do your best to try to address these crazy things. And so if you want to pull up the document that I created for this, remember, I'm trying to tell you about what your addiction does to your spouse and the damage that you've caused, not to beat you up, but to give you an understanding so that you can begin to develop empathy. And that's not easy. So here's a couple of images I want you to just keep in mind. One that Doug uses repeatedly is when you do any version of acting out, porn, masturbation, orgasm, or online contacting people, meeting people in person and being intimate, or anything that you're doing that's acting out that violates the covenant of marriage. It's like you're shooting your wife with a gun. And every time you act out, you shoot her again. And you're supposed to be the one that's protecting her, using your gun to protect other people from hurting you and the family, but it's you shooting your wife with the gun. And she takes all this pain, this bullet, and she looks up and you're holding the smoking gun. And you understand that over and over again, your lies, your betrayal, your going to porn is like shooting her again and again and again and again and again, often feel like in the same spot. It'll never heal because it just keeps getting blown open again. And of course she looks up and you're saying, well, this, trust me, hon, I've changed, and the gun's still smoking. And so how is she supposed to do that? So the idea of you've caused a lot of pain. Another one that is is a helpful one is you're driving the car, your wife's a passenger, i.e. that's your marriage, but you're driving recklessly, and you go into this seriously violent car accident. She had nothing to do with it. You were driving careless. You were not paying attention. You were not thinking about her, but she's in the passenger seat and she has no choice but to be in this crazy wreck where the car's totaled and she's all messed up because of your driving, your carelessness, your selfishness. You're not thinking about her. And so she's in the passenger seat. She's just on for the ride. And you took her on this journey through your carelessness, driving the marriage the way you did. She's sitting in the passenger seat. She's along for the ride, and you cause the pain. Another graphic picture of how your addiction hurts her. The third one is a very complicated one. If you've ever been in a pool with a young swimmer, the 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, even older, as you're a man, you can still do this with a 10 or 12-year-old. But because of the balance between body buoyancy and the strength in the water to hold a person up, you can very easily just push their head under. And if you're not careful in your play, you can accidentally push them under, and it might, it might create some trauma, even accidentally. But in this case here, your wife is gasping for air, and every time she comes up to try to survive this unbelievable pain she's carrying and gasping for air for life, she comes up only to see your hand on her head pushing her back down again. She comes up and she sees your hand on her head. She's got the panic look. And I've had one occasion in my life where I happened to be around when a young teen was drowning, and the panic on her eyes as I went into the water to bring her out. And I thank God she's safe, but she was done. She was panicked. Her eyes told the whole story. I am not going to make it. And when I pulled her out of this fast running river creek in the mountains in Alberta when I was a youth pastor, you could see the relief. But you see, when you are working with your spouse through this recovery and you relapse, or you you accuse her, or you blame her, or you somehow implicate her, or lessen the effect of what you've done, she comes up, it's like you're the one pushing her down. The last thing she sees as she panics again is your face, your eyes, you pushing her down. Now, I'll tell you what, if I had 17 wives or a couple of future wives on the line with me, they would tell you right now, well, I relate to the drowning one, or I relate to the smoking gun one, or I relate to the car accident one. But there's no doubt in my mind that I would have women on this phone call pounding the table saying, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. And on behalf of all of those women that are battling through this, I just want to tell you guys, you're on a journey to take responsibility for the pain that you've caused, because it's not small. It's not small. And trying to hurry recovery, trying to push her to get over it. Can't you just accept that I've changed now? I mean, in a car accident, she's recovering in the hospital for a while. She's got stitches and scratches and soft tissue issues or broken bones. And you don't tell a person, well, come on, you know, the accident was just a week ago. What's your problem? Quit limping just because you broke your leg in 3 places. Like, you know, what's your problem? We don't say that. You know, the person that's almost drowned, we don't say, ready to go for a swim again? No, you don't. You give them time, and they have fears and insecurities about the water. One of the things that's really important, you notice it in the notes there. There's an incredible video. It's actually a couple of discs by Dr. Doug Weiss called "Helping Her Heal," and this is where you watch the video to understand what you can do to help your wife heal. And if you haven't watched that yet, see me, because I've bought them to use in my practice, and this group is kind of part of my counseling practice. And so you need to watch Helping Her Heal. And then I tell guys, watch it with your wife so she can tell you, yes, that would really help. I feel exactly like that. And that helps you with your empathy. Anything you identify with that makes sense to you, honey, tell me so I understand you. Because there's only one thing that you've understood all these years in your addiction is what pleases you and what you want to do. So I've got 6 categories here, breaking down those 20 into just, or summarizing rather, those things. And if you can kind of hear these words, these would be important. Notice that within the literature, it's called partner betrayal trauma. The damage that you've caused your wife. Partner, you're her spouse. Betrayal and trauma. Trauma, just like post-traumatic stress disorder. Trauma that just really has terrorized their spirit. So obviously the betrayal on 2 counts. One is being incessantly lied to creates this unbelievably deeply broken trust. Just she doesn't know what to believe. You've lied so many times. There's times she can remember, she reviews and she looks at your face and says, you know, tell me X, and you go, oh, I can't believe you even think that of me. And she knows that there's been some bold-faced lies to you or from you to her. Then there's the sexual unfaithfulness, whether it's the porn, masturbation, orgasm cycle, PMO, or whether it's outside the marriage. This adds another whole dimension to the trauma that she's forced to carry, because that sense of betrayal and unfaithfulness, and she's not exclusive to you because you're chasing other women either online or in person. And so, you know, the trauma, the betrayal is massive because you're the one that she trusted. She gave her heart to you and she gave her life to you. Invariably, she gave her body to you. And now this. And even when we talk about she gave her heart to you, women are much more aware of, I gave you my heart and you stomped on it. And so that betrayal is not small. I didn't know how to put this next one together. So you got a complicated set of words together, but emotional disequilibrium. Equilibrium is stability and balance. But the emotional upheaval, I have a whole document on what this does to the woman and all the feelings she has. Emotional upheaval or emotional disequilibrium. The trauma causes incredible, real emotional and physiological pain. They're actually, if they could monitor physiological pain, there was stress, there was pain in the heart. And in the abdomen, there's tenseness, there's anxiety, stress, worry, doubt, anger, feeling spent, disgusted, uncertain, love you, not love you. Can she trust you? How will she know? When should she believe and trust you again? Her deep hurt with no easy fixed steps creates her emotional instability. It's like a person is in a car accident, and if you know anything about shock, they're not fully aware that's all going on. And if a person was in a bad car accident and you pull them out, don't let them get far from you, because they could easily wander onto the road and get hit by a car because they're not aware of everything. She's in shock, and it creates a lot of instability in her person. And, you know, thinking that you're the one that's going to solve it and fix it when you've caused the pain, that's complicated. So she's all over the place. She's in shock. And that shock doesn't just last a week or two or a day or two. That can go on for 2-3 months, trying to get her head around all the pain that you've caused. Thirdly, she's experiencing a massive bunch of rejection that causes insecurity. So rejection, insecurity, feels unloved, not treasured. She feels unwanted, inadequate. She feels compared. She'll determine she's flawed somehow. She might not be pursued by you except for you to get your sexual hit, and she knows that because you don't make love to her, you have sex with her. And the relation turns out to be a lie. And so, because there was trust, there was commitment, there was covenant, there was love, good memories. And it's like they all got flushed down the toilet with your actions. And this covenant turns out to be a lie. She'll have a hard time believing that she'll ever be good enough or truly be loved by you, no matter what you say. Because if she was so loving and she's so amazing, then the truth is, why did you do this in the first place? And so she's going to have a boatload of insecurities and a sense of rejection. And number 4, and these are in no particular order, so don't be thinking that, but sexual barriers. She's going to have so many triggers as she considers even going to the bedroom to be with you. She envisions you on the computer or on the phone, gawking at a massive amount of sexually explicit material, and then is grossed out as she imagines as you're masturbating or in the shower or whatever. And or if you've acted outside of the marriage, she is just completely disgusted by your unfaithfulness. And so there's a sense of dirtiness or being used, and there'll be a huge drop in her sexual confidence, and certainly a very little desire towards you, because she can't be close to you without being triggered. Nice. That's a really hard thing for her to work through. And then you have number 5, the shame and embarrassment. How does she heal from this mess? It's your mess. She was the passenger of the car. She didn't take the car this way, you did, and she's along for this ride she doesn't want anything to do with. And so how does she heal from your addiction? Who will understand her hurt? Who does she tell? Does she tell her family? And sometimes women tell to get everybody in the world angry at you, because that's just part of her anger. And but who understands? Who will give her good words? Who will give her good support? And how can she tell someone without partially, what was wrong with the marriage, they think, or, somehow that they think that, if you'd have, been good enough in the bedroom, he wouldn't have gone there. That's garbage. It wouldn't matter who you married. Your addiction would have beat you up. But when you add maybe having to, do a test for a sexually transmitted disease, you understand the embarrassment, the secrets she has to carry about your world, what you've done. And even, it just complicates the marriage, and that you're pretending to have a marriage that you really don't have. And she knows it bigger than ever. And that's just a real weight to carry. And the final one is her own faith failure. You say, well, how does my acting out affect her relationship with God? Well, because she's discouraged before God. Why did he allow this? She feels betrayed by God too, because she prayed and she thought that you were God's choice for her, and she trusted that sense of discernment. And she didn't sign up for this. She didn't sign up for you cheating and looking at porn and running around. She didn't sign up for this. And why did God allow me to marry you? Well, is he punishing me? And so there can be a huge distrust in her faith because of your addiction. And some women are drawn more to the Lord. I'll be honest, because he's the only one going to carry her, because she can't trust you anymore. But it's complicated for some women, and they actually see this. They see this failure of yours and imply that God, because he's aware, he's partly responsible, forgetting, of course, that God didn't want any part of your unfaithfulness. God doesn't approve of your addiction and your acting out. God doesn't want you to hurt your wife and family, and yourself for that matter. God wants to free you from that. So if you go to the second page, this whole thing, as I've talked it through, my goal is that you begin to build empathy. And I was going to put the word rebuild empathy, but I would argue that you never did have empathy. Follow with me as I read what I wrote this morning earlier. Your addiction was driven by selfishness. Selfishness. Right from the very start, it's all about selfishness. Your discovery or disclosure, when she discovered what you've been doing, or you actually admitted to her, it doesn't automatically change you. You think now that you're caught, you're going to be different now. But you've been self-centered for years. You've been justifying your behavior, sometimes even blaming your spouse. That's selfishness. You've been lying to yourself about it's not really hurting anybody. That's selfishness. You've kept secrets, withheld truth, and lied to her face. That's selfishness. And when you've been selfish, when you get discovered or you decide to tell the truth about what you've been doing to come clean, you know, all of a sudden, okay, now I'm not going to be selfish. No, selfishness is ingrained. And it needs a lot of work to push through. You start building empathy with the commitment to other-centeredness, looking at this from your wife's perspective. And you know, this ain't a fun morning to listen to, but it's important for you to see things through her perspective. And by the way, you know, you've heard me talk about this before, but many men who go through addiction flatten emotionally. They don't mature as a man. They got addicted at 13 and been watching porn all the way through to 28 or 40 or whatever. And so they flatten emotionally. They're emotionally adolescent. And so when I talk like this, a lot of you feel bad for yourself. Well, this is not nice. I don't like to hear this. This is hard. I don't like how this makes me feel. You're flipping emotional adolescent. Quit your whining and grow up and realize that part of other-centeredness is starting to see life through their eyes, seeing what you've caused them and not trying to hurry them through their recovery. Don't tell a person who's busted their leg in 3 places to say, well, what's your problem? Come on for a jog today. Can't you just get over that accident? I don't care if you got a cast to your hip. Let's go. Come on, at least for a walk or maybe a hike. Well, don't be so foolish. But you start building empathy towards your spouse by a commitment to other-centeredness, looking at life from her side. But it's not easy. You know what you'll find yourself? You'll find so many of your actions, your statements, your attitudes, your questions, they always show one thing. It's still about you. You want her to heal quickly. That's about you. You want her to get over it. That's about you. You want her to forgive you. That's about you. You want her to stop being triggered. Honey, you know I'm not like that anymore. It's all about you. You want her to trust me. Just trust me. That's all about you. You want her to just, can't we move forward? Can't we put this behind us? Won't you forgive me? That's all about you. It's all selfishness. And so even on your recovery, there is expression of selfishness in how you operate with your wife. So you'll see there that beautiful passage in Philippians chapter 2. There's some beautiful implications of unity and closeness in the first 2 verses. And then it talks about how we get there. So listen. Therefore, if any of you in your marriages have any encouragement by being united with Christ, if there's any comfort between one another from his love, if there's any common sharing and growing and understanding through the work of the Spirit in you, if there's any tenderness and compassion replacing that self-centeredness and harshness, then make Paul's joy, my joy as your helper, complete by being like-minded. That means understanding her, having the same love, patient love, encouragement, being of one spirit and one mind. There's a beautiful place to go in your marriage. Like-minded, same love, one spirit, one mind, beautiful concept. And how do you do that? Look at verses 3 and 4. Husbands, after this addiction where you've been shooting her, driving crazy and her getting hurt, pushing her down over and over again that she feels like she's going to drown. Husbands, stop doing things out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but rather in humility, authenticity, humbleness. Value your wife above yourself. Value your wife above yourself. Value your wife above yourself. Look at life from her side. become other-centered. So do nothing out of selfish ambition, what you want, or vain conceit. You're a proud sucker that thought you could get away with this, and now you realize it's caused a lot of damage. So no pride, just humbleness, authenticity, and not about my pain. You own pain for a while because of what you put her through. But in humility, value your wife above yourself, not looking on your own interests, not looking on what you want, but each of you looking totally at what's best for your wife, looking at the interests of her. What are her needs? What does she need from me right now? Where does she need more patience with me? Where do I need to just be there to help her through a trigger? Where I need to show more understanding and express more grief and really am repentant and just own it again and again. I caused this. Your triggers, I'm sorry. If I had done this, you wouldn't be triggered by that green Ford truck. It's all on me. It's all on me. Because you see, when you look not only on your interests, but you look at the interests of your wife and her growth and her recovery, everything changes. My prayer is that God will allow you to start seeing life through your wife's eyes and the hurt that you've caused, and start building a genuine, God-honoring, spouse-centered empathy in your healing journey with your wife.